After 4 years of intensive research, development and field testing, we at Pendulum Energy are pleased now that we can present to you the results of actual savings achieved by the installation of PowerGuard systems. And just to remind you that PowerGuard is designed, built, tested, proven and certified to the most stringent international standards, specifically for South African conditions. In order for you to understand how we arrive at the results we present to you, we'd like to briefly show you our scientific data gathering protocols. High integrity output data from 3 current transformers is applied to the PowerGuard unit, where the real-time kVA is calculated. This information is then presented to a GSM network-based modem, which is in constant communication with our server. For the purpose of this presentation of actual results achieved, we've selected examples of very diverse installations. The project at the headquarters of a major defense contractor was a typical large installation. We established a network of 14 16-channel PowerGuard units, which controlled 250 air conditioners. It's important to note that PowerGuard's very complex algorithms ensure that no air conditioner will ever be turned off for more than 9 minutes. The switching cycles are also not less than 1.5 hours apart, ensuring that comfort levels are not compromised. Chances are good that nobody will be aware of this intervention. We are proud to present to you a graphic illustration of the actual results achieved. These graphs were acquired from real-time monitoring via the on-site modem, which reports to our calibrated web-based information system. This is a high-resolution representation of the actual current consumption over the period of a month. You can clearly see the peaks generated during the day when the air conditioners were in use, as well as the troughs of nighttime and weekends. The red, blue and yellow lines represent the actual current consumption of the 3 phases at any given time. Since we are mainly concerned with managing the demand on the electrical system, that is represented by the black line and is expressed as kVA or kilovolt amps, averaged over half an hour. That is calculated exactly in accordance with the national demand billing criteria. The maximum demand is what you pay for, as reflected on your electricity bill. The maximum theoretical demand at this particular client is 600 kVA, but we will use 530 kVA since that is a figure that has been reported on their bill. That is represented by this dotted red line, and the further we keep the black line from here, the greater the saving. In this instance, we adjusted PowerGuard to limit the demand to 400 kVA, and that is represented by this dotted blue line. If we analyze one day in June, when the demand was particularly high, we notice the demand grew as the day progressed, and more air conditioners came online. Expanding the graph, we clearly see that the demand started to escalate around 8 o'clock in the morning. As soon as that happened, PowerGuard started sending shed requests, as indicated by this line, and kept the demand from exceeding the preset limit of 400 kVA. But what does that mean in practical terms? Supposing PowerGuard did not intervene, the demand could easily have climbed to 530 kVA. Since PowerGuard limited the demand to 400 kVA, it saved 130 kVA. Not only did it ease the load on the national power grid by 130 kVA, but it saved the client a huge amount of money. But how much? We will see shortly. You could, however, correctly argue that these are our calculations and the proof of the pudding is in the eating, and in this instance the pudding is the electricity bill. Here is a comparison between the July 2012 and July 2011 bill, which was prior to the PowerGuard installation. In 2011, the bill indicated a peak reading of 530 kVA during that month, which incidentally was the reading we used for our calculations. Compare that to the 2012 bill, and we notice a peak reading of 384 kVA, a difference of 146. That's even better than our predicted saving of 130 kVA. Allow me to show you how all this equates to rands and cents. The cost of 530 kVA in today's terms is 105,136 Rand. In July 2012, PowerGuard limited the peak to 384 kVA, which cost 76,174 Rand. That leaves us with a saving of 28,962 Rand. A tidy sum, you'll agree. But that's not all, as they say in the soapy commercials. Considering that 50 air conditioners were turned off at any given time between 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock, a considerable amount of kilowatt hours was also saved. Remember though, no air conditioner was turned off for more than 9 minutes at a time, and the switching cycles are also not less than 1.5 hours apart, which means that it's unlikely that anybody was aware of the intervention. So let's see how the amount of power or kilowatt hours used was affected. The 2011 bill indicates a use of 132,000 kilowatt hours for a total of 125,888 Rand in today's terms. In 2012, the usage drops to 119,000 kilowatt hours, which comes to 113,490 Rand, a saving of 12,397 Rand. Now, if we add up the totals, the effective saving for July amounts to 41,359 Rand, or 17.9% of the total bill. The same trend continues when the figures for a period of 4 months are examined. Comparing the demand in kVA between January and May, it is evident that the demand for both years were pretty much the same. That was before PowerGuard was commissioned. But after May, the graphs diverged dramatically, indicating a huge increase in demand during the winter months for 2011. What is significant, though, is that PowerGuard prevented peaks of more than 100 kVA from developing. This dotted line indicates the limit PowerGuard was adjusted to, and it clearly indicates that the 400 kVA limit was never exceeded. This proves the point that the peak demand is effectively restricted to the set limit, and that a secondary peak is eliminated. The kilowatt hours graph indicates the same tendency to diverge once PowerGuard was installed, suggesting a considerable saving in consumption as well. A quick calculation for savings realized over this 4-month period demonstrates a combined saving of 31,962 Rand per month on average. From this, we can conclude that the month of July was no fluke and that sustained savings are realistic. A completely different installation was completed at Sakata, the people responsible for producing the wonderful range of Mayford seeds, well known to any gardener for many years. Since this was a much smaller installation, the figures are, likewise, smaller, but the percentage saving remains impressive. Apart from having the load spread over a wide area, the challenge was the controlling of different types of loads. 50 air conditioners were distributed amongst various buildings, combined with several warm water geysers, which is a completely different kind of load altogether. The graphs, which should be a bit more familiar to you by now, indicate that PowerGuard handled a difficult situation admirably. The maximum attainable kVA without intervention was 200 kVA, and we adjusted PowerGuard to a conservative 150 kVA. Looking at the black line, you can see that the set limit was never transgressed. Let's go to the pudding straight away. If we compare the June bills for 2011 and 2012, we once again notice a significant saving. In 2011, the kVA reading was 176, and in 2012, PowerGuard limited the reading to 136, a saving of 40 kVA. In rands and cents terms, the difference was 5,592 Rand. Examining the kilowatt hours, we come across another surprising saving. 36,905 kilowatt hours for 2011 compared to 29,501 for 2012. Translated to rands and cents, it comes to 3,296 Rand. The total saving for June amounts to 8,888 Rand, or 22.2% of the total bill. Please note that savings will fluctuate from month to month and between seasons, and we certainly don't claim that kind of saving every month. However, for the month of June, it decidedly did. More importantly though, PowerGuard indisputably limited the peak demand to the preset figure. Furthermore, a study over an 8-month period produced a similar result to that obtained at the defence contractor. After PowerGuard is introduced, note that the peak demand is curtailed effectively, and a secondary peak does not appear later. Even though mixed loads are managed at Sakata, this analysis indicates that the improvement in kilowatt-hours consumption was considerable as well. I won't bore you with the exact figures and calculations, but the average financial saving over the 8-month period came to 17.5%, a figure that is confirmed by Sakata's Director of Quality, Sue Allen.
We've found that our electricity consumption has come down by around about 20%, and with very minimal disruption to our daily lives, and at the same time without compromising any of the essential equipment that needs electricity. So all in all, I'd say we're very, very happy with PowerGuard.
Significantly, the average savings over the 8-month period are 20% kVA and 12.8% kilowatt hours, a dramatic reduction of the drain on the country's power grid. By the way, anyone is welcome to examine the original documents used in this presentation. The hospitality industry is well known for the considerable peaks that they generate. For that reason, we'd like to include the Diaz Strand Hotel in Mossel Bay, because PowerGuard is particularly well suited for this type of installation. This upmarket and very popular resort has 86 rooms served by 50 warm water geysers. The aggressive setting on PowerGuard produced some surprising results. Since the hotel's manager, Edward Weston, is a long-time student of statistics, we produce, with thanks, the results of his intensive scrutiny of our automatic data capturing system. After all, we have no reason to dispute his findings.
What PowerGuard did for us is they came in and they installed the product and they said, use it for 3 months. You can see yourself if you're saving money, yes or no. If it saves money, you can buy the system. If you're not happy, you don't have to buy the system. And subsequently, after 3 months use, we bought the system because we could actually see the results. And I think what it did for our company, it saved us about 12,000 Rand a month.
On examination of his impressive reports, we can conclude that the average saving over a year was 800 kVA, representing a financial saving of 12,000 Rand per month on average. Slicing that off the operating expenses of this resort had a meaningful effect for an enterprise and a market sector which is under severe pressure for various reasons. The amount of electricity we waste these days is shocking. If you're interested in reducing your energy expenditure and significantly the drain on our country's electrical grid, please visit our website at www.pendulum-energy.co.za, where you will find all our contact details.